reminds me of something that Neil A. Maxwell once said to members of the Latter-day Saint Church. He said that those who engage in scholarship need to remember that they are citizens of the kingdom with a passport into the academic world. And Richard strikes me as somebody who took that counsel very much to heart. He's somebody whose loyalty to his faith are abundantly clear, but somebody who is perfectly at home in and respected by members of the academic community. And I think he has led the way in showing that members of the church can be faithful scholars, that one needn't make excuses for one's faith, and he speaks the language very well. He's bilingual. He speaks the language of scholarship, but he speaks the language of faith, and moves seamlessly between the two. And I think he models perfectly the kind of bringing together of the intellectual and the spiritual realms that Joseph Smith himself both advocated and embodied.
I met Richard at Yale University. I was a very fearful graduate student, not at Yale, but had gone to Yale for some meetings where Richard was a featured speaker, and met him at a dinner, and I strategically tried to seat myself down next to him, and did so around a table with several other people, and so the conversation began with just some small talk and pleasantries, and then he said, where did you do your undergraduate work? And I said, BYU. And he said, you're a Mormon! Just like that. And from there on, he took very much of an interest in me, and he has ever since. And I know that that's true for hundreds of others as well.
And I think Richard Bushman's legacy is manifold. In some ways, he inherits the mantle of Leonard Arrington as the chief mentor of subsequent generations, contemporaries and subsequent generations of Mormon scholars, as well as scholars who are not themselves Mormon but studying Mormonism because of thoughtful, original method. His legacy is especially rich to Latter-day Saints studying Mormonism because in an extraordinary manner he combines the life of the mind and the life of the spirit. As Terrell Givens just said earlier this morning, he does that in a way that echoes Joseph Smith himself.
He has shown to me over the years that the essence of scholarship is not necessarily solely in gathering new materials, but in asking proper questions about the subject matters that we want to properly understand. And in relationship to Mormonism, questions like the essence of authority, questions like the office of the prophet, questions like the relationship of spirituality and materiality, questions about the sense of place in the formulation of our religious identity.
We grew up in Portland, Oregon, and I had the delight of watching him develop his sense of scholarship and outreach. I think he's always had powerful leadership skills, the ability to be interested in people, blend them together, and suggest ideas for improvements of them as individuals and their work, but also to create a group atmosphere.
I remember Richard, when I was a youngster, was always the older, smarter, more clever person. He always had interesting friends and would do interesting things. The problem we had on Christmas Day when we got games was that he would play it once and then he'd conquered the game and he would wander away. And Cherry and I would keep playing the game, trying to learn how to conquer the game.
I'm Rosalind Welch. I am the managing editor of the Mormon Review, which is Richard's brainchild and with which he continues to be involved. And I think in that sense, it's characteristic of Richard's kind of lifelong project of going outside and beyond traditional disciplinary boundaries. While he's a master of his own discipline, of course, he's never let that limit his intellectual curiosity, and it's never a sort of disciplinary or periodization has never limited the people that he reaches out to and brings into his circle.
I've been a big fan of Richard for many, many years, and as I woke up this morning, thought about his legacy and about the end of an era today, with him no longer in academia formally as a professor at either Columbia or Delaware or Boston University, or most recently Claremont Graduate University, realizing that other students like myself won't have that opportunity again to sit with him and learn at his feet.
Well, of course, we could talk in many directions, but I would like to mention what I think is his gift to the young scholars of the church. So many of them have been through his summer seminar where they learned new ways of dealing with Mormon scriptures and history, where they have learned, had the opportunity to get to know each other well, and now I see them occupying positions of importance, and I'll see it even more in the future. I think that may be one of the biggest things, among other huge things that he has accomplished.
I'm Richard Bushman. I'm a emeritus professor from Columbia University and recently retired as visiting professor at Claremont Graduate University. And this has been a thrilling and exhilarating day for me. There have been some comments made about me personally, which have been very gratifying. But what thrills me most is the quality of this new generation of scholars who are rising, which have been my special interest for the last 20 years or so. There was one paper about my own work. There's only been one that I know of. And that can be an excruciating moment, because if they don't get it quite right, you feel bad. If they overdo it, you feel bad. This guy was right on target, Stuart Parker, talking about my historiography. And he coined a phrase which I think is truly his, the hermeneutics of generosity. That is a way of interpreting historical documents that gives a break to the people who created them, gives them some priority in knowing more about what was going on than others who may doubt their words later. So I was very happy with that. Of course, it's thrilling to see people you haven't seen for years, that you've connected with. Long life, 80 years, many, many people passing. And here they come all in a bunch, and you get to say hello. So I'm absolutely thrilled. It's been a glorious day.